Hey folks, welcome to the Buck and Bass Ranch. This is just a short video. Kind of wanted to give those folks out there that kind of learning how to hog hunt, what to look for, kind of, you know, a little, 101 hog hunt. So anyway, just really the number one thing for hog hunting is obviously find a place where there are hogs. Do your research, get online, find out places where, the populations of hogs, the feral hogs are in big numbers. Those are the places you want to hunt. Well, we're here in East Texas near Lake Fork at the Buck and Bass Ranch, and here we have a wallow. This is an area where the hogs will come in, they'll roll around in the mud, and you'll see some footprints around in here. This is where they cool off. This is where they get rid of the bugs. This is where they just kind of cool off. And what you'll see, if you follow me, I'm going to walk over this way. I want to show you a couple spots here. Let's take a look right here. As you can see here, there's mud on a tree. It tells us a couple of things. Number one, it tells us hogs are going through here. Number two, it tells us how big that hog is. That hog stands about that tall, maybe just a little bit taller, because his shoulder and back is hitting that tree right there, and he's rubbing that mud from that wallow off. You can see another tree there. There's a couple back off that direction. And what's interesting is you see these trails, and that's a thing to look for, folks, when you're trying to figure out where hogs are at. Trails. You'll find trails. You'll find scat. You'll find scat is obviously their dung, if you will. But those are some of the things you want to look for here in God's country, looking for wild hogs. So I can see several trails back in this way. There's several off that way. Now I can tell you, we have a feeder that's probably about 40 yards that direction, and there's trails that run right through here and they go right to the feeder. And what's interesting is they go feeder to feeder. So these hogs, they know there's corn at every one of these feeders, and what they do is they go from each feeder and hit the corn and go on to the next one. So anyway, for now, it's kind of a little 101. We'll come back, we'll give you some more tips and pointers. As we can see here, there's a hog trail coming right through. There's an old fence here, and they come right underneath. Actually, the fence is laying on the ground, but they do come right through here. You can see there's one right here. But what they do is they come across here. Obviously, we've got a feeder right here. They hit that feeder, but you'll see, let's walk over here just for a second. You can see there's a trail right through there. There's one through there. There's one through here. This one you can see really good. They've beaten this grass down pretty good. So we've got a ladder stand there, obviously. They come right directly through here. But those are the things you want to look for when you're hog hunting. Is you'll know these trails come through. You know that that's what they're using. Look for the signs. Look for the scat. Look for the rubs on trees, those type things. That's where hogs are. So we'll wander around, we'll see what else we can find. Well, folks, what we have here is what's called a rooted up spot from a hog. They come in here and they put their little snouts in the ground. They dig up worms, grubs, roots, what have you, and eat. So you'll see some areas here. Another obvious sign that there are hogs in the area. So something to look for when you're out and about trying to find a place to hunt. If you see spots like this where they're dug up, I can rest assure you there are hogs in the area. So anyway, we'll venture on and we'll look for some other signs of hogs and kind of give you an idea of good areas to hunt. But obviously, as I indicated earlier, the best thing to do is do your homework, find spots that do hold hogs in the area. This is a piece of property in East Texas that we own that is just absolutely loaded with hogs, and we have no problem finding them in here, and there's telltale signs everywhere, and we'll go on and we'll look for a few more, so we'll be back. Here's an obvious sign of hogs. Here we can see a hog print, and what you'll notice, hogs, their hooves don't have really pointy front tips to the hoof. It's more rounded. Deer will have very pointed ones, so as we see here, it's very rounded in here at the front of their hoof. That's a sure sign that it's a hog. I can try to find a deer here if I can, and we'll compare it, but you'll see how rounded that whole hoof looks. That's how you know it's a hog. Here's another hog print. Just thought I'd show you a couple more and show you the difference. What we have up here is, if you look at this one, see how pointy that is right in here? Very pointy. What that means it's a deer. Hogs are going to have, there's one right next to it. Let me back up here. Very rounded, very pointy. That's going to be the difference. So there's deer and there's hogs in here. And you can tell by obviously looking at the footprints. But what you do, we have a ground blind set up, as you can see back in there. Just a little ground blind. And behind us here we have a feeder, obviously. So set yourself up something like this, where you can drop some corn, and 20-25 yards away, if you're proficient with a bow like what we shoot here at the Buck and Bass Ranch, perfect setup. And then for those of you who prefer maybe rifle hunting or getting off the ground, you know, we set up bow blinds as well up in the air, so you'll see, if you can pick it out, there's a ladder stand. I'll zoom in right there. That's about 20-25 feet off the ground. Obviously use your safety harness, but getting up on a stand like that and hunting here is a very successful way of shooting hogs here in East Texas. So anyway, we venture on. We're pulling trail cams today. We're going to see what we got going on, but over the this is the Labor Day weekend, and we've seen hogs everywhere, so lots of action. A couple other tips I could give you folks is when you're out hog hunting, probably the second most important thing, other than finding a place where there are hogs, is making sure that you're hunting the wind. Hogs have a nose as good, if not better, than a deer, and they will smell you. They will circle blinds, they'll wind check, they will bust you if you're not careful. So as you can see off in a distance here, we have a ladder stand here, and that would be on the south side of the feeder. And while we're here, I just want to point out trail cams, very important. Tell what's going on, eyes in the woods. If you got hogs, you'll catch pictures. If you don't, they won't be there, obviously. We got a feeder here, and then we've got a ladder stand on the north side. So, you know, depending upon which way the wind is blowing is where I'm going to hunt. And I try to, you know, obviously if you get swirling winds or winds in bad directions, maybe you go to another spot, but don't ruin a spot because you hunt it and the wind's wrong. But as you can see here, we've got more trails coming in right here. There's trails coming in over here. Lots of trails. You see some more digging right here. Obviously, look under the feeder, there's nothing. These feeders are going off in the morning and the evening. Looks like they've even rooted around my leg of the feeder there a little bit. So they've been hitting this feeder very hard. They've been hitting most of the feeders very hard. It is early September, and the hogs this time of year, big food source is feeders, so they will hit these hard. We know there's lots here, and how do I know? Right there. That's probably the number 3 thing. Knowing where to hunt, having stands put in the right spot, and being able to see what's out there. Watch the time of day, because you know what? If the shows are coming in at 6, for the week prior to that, pretty much every night on, you know, clockwork, you can pretty much be rest assured that's probably what's going to happen. So anyway, I'm going to readjust the timer on this feeder. We got them going off at 7 p.m., but it's starting to get dark a little earlier, starting to get dark about 8. So we're going to set it to 6:30, and that'll give us a little extra time with corn on the ground to hunt. So anyway, we're back to work, but we'll wander through the woods here and hit a few more spots, and if there's other things I can point out, I will certainly do so. As you note here, folks, kind of a moist, wet area leading up to a little pond of water. If you can see it back in there, I'll kind of zoom in, but there's water in there, and that's what the hogs go for. They love water. They spend a lot of their time in and near and about water. So just so you know, find places that have water and hunt them. because that's where you will find critters. Now, one thing I didn't really point out, but you find these trails where the hogs go through. Sometimes hunting the feeder isn't the best thing to do. Maybe hunting an ambush spot where they're coming through. I mean, I can walk over here. I've got a feeder set up over here, and you'll see plenty of trails leading into this feeder. Sometimes you don't want to necessarily hunt that feeder, but maybe want to hunt that trail that leads into it. I can just show you here. I mean, there's plenty trails leading off into the brush, and you can walk in and you can follow any one of these trails, and they'll go back. I mean, they'll go a long way. Some go to other feeders, some go down into the bottomlands. They go all over the place, but you know, get to learn where those hogs are moving through and set up an ambush. Another good way to shoot hogs. Okay, well folks, I hope that gives you a little insight into hog hunting. You know, there's a lot of similarities in hog hunting to deer hunting. Obviously, wind checking and those type of things we talked about, finding the right spot, you know, where the areas where there are the animals, and then just kind of do your homework. Again, things to look for, as we discussed on the video, you know, the wallows, you know, the trails, scat, you know, just signs of hogs. Trail cameras obviously are a big help, and then anything else you can do to narrow down, you know, where those animals might be. Food sources, you know, watering holes. During the day in the summertime, those animals like to lay down in the water. So, you know, kind of get to know those things when you're trying to figure out where hogs are. And once again, you know, do your homework, find out where the animals tend to be. East Texas is a great place to hunt. Check us out, www.buckandbassranch.com. And you'll see some videos on my website relative to deer hunts and hog hunts and other, you know, fishing. There's all sorts of stuff we do here at the Buck and Bass Ranch. But anyway, glad to give you a few pointers out there, and hope those help you get you the big hog. And until next time, you know, come visit us. Once again, buckandbassranch.com. Until then, so long folks from the Buck and Bass Ranch.